Oh, wow. Actually, put one on the, I think one in each spot. All right. I'll take that light one.
Knows what she is, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, checking the in here. Just making sure.
You've been coming every year.
No, I took some time off since I had kids.
One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. Yep, 1, 2.
2008. I'm doing a lot of training.
I'll tell you right now. A little more than 13. That's more. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Yep. Feels good in the hands, in the headphones. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Sounds good. Sounds great here.
All right.
I like, I should play in front of the kid more. Having the kick drum pointed directly at
Yeah, bass player would like that.
so much ass.
1, 2. All right. Well. There you go. 1, 1. Yeah. Woo.
Everybody good your ears? You open your ears?
Morning, bro. Test. Just getting our sound and tuning.
All right, welcome to NAMM 2026. My name is John, I'm up here from Pearl, and I just want to welcome you and thank you for being here as we celebrate 80 years of Pearl drums. 40 of those years, we have had the pleasure of having Omar Hakim as an endorsee. So, big hand, yes. So this weekend we reflect on the artists who've used our instruments to change the landscape of modern music. And very few of those names carry as much weight across so many different genres as the man we're about to see. From Weather Report to Staying, his iconic grooves on David Bowie's Let's Dance and Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, Omar has truly done everything. Today, he's not just bringing his world-class drumming to the Pearl booth, he's bringing his new band called Sonic Boom Squad. So please join us in welcoming longtime Pearl artist, the legendary Omar Hakim.
Hey everybody, good morning. We're celebrating Pearl 80 years, man, unbelievable. So let's have some fun.
Their ear. Got your ears?
Hello. So we're going to open up the set with a song that I wrote for a record I did about 10 years ago called We Are One. This one is called Walk the Walk.
Me and you, bro. Oh, yeah. What? Hit it.
That's Rachel Z on keys, y'all. Take it on home, y'all. Intensity, never end. Intensity, the fire from within. Intensity, never end. Intensity, never end. Intensity, fire from within. Intensity, intensity. Thank you. Yeah, do it. About 2 years ago, I sat down in a little chair in front of a fireplace, starting to get ideas for some song lyrics. Started at about 9 o'clock. I sat in that chair until about 5 in the morning, and when I was done, I had 9 songs. That never happened to me before, to get that kind of inspiration in one night. And so I thought to myself, I'm gonna record them, but I'm not gonna do what I usually do, which is to take way too long to make a record. 5 years later, 3 tours with other people, I forgot what I was doing. This time I said, I'm gonna sit down and I'm just gonna finish this thing up. And 2 months later, I had what turns out to be what I call the Sonic Boom Squad album, which is, for you vinyl collectors, we'll be having a version of that online pretty soon. So kind of multi-genre work with these beautiful drums from our friends at Pearl. They've been hooking me up for 40 years, y'all. 40 years, right? And what better companion to have for 40 years of music making than an awesome sounding drum set that makes me feel like a kid at Christmas every time I sit down at them, dagnabbit. and Rachel's my witness. I feel like a kid every time I get a new kid. It just, for some reason, it never gets old. Can you drummers relate to that? Amen. You know what I'm saying? That's right. How much fun is that? That's right. All right, so this next one, we did a project, not this band, but another band called Osmosis. It had great guitar player named Kurt Rosenwinkel. Any Kurt Rosenwinkel fans? Yeah, he was in the band.
Right here.
Great bass player named Lindley Marth. And so we made this really cool, fun little EP called Eyes to the Future. And we're gonna do one of the tunes from it. It's called Humor and Nudity. And the reason we named it that is because those are the 2 things that keep a marriage happy and bright. Here it is, y'all. And John, would you kick this off with me, bro?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's do a little thing up in front of this. Ting.
Kind of a dub vibe. Ting, ting.
Yeah, it's a big road, yeah. You can take it there.
I'll take that as a yes. All right. I'm gonna bring somebody on. He's pretty cool. He's a newcomer, so give him a little time here. But I would like to ask everyone, if you're on an instrument, if you're playing with the keyboards or anything like that, I'd like you to stop for the next half an hour, please. If we can just shut everything down and come up to the front of the stage and check out some great sounds, that would be great. I really appreciate it, guys. Quick introduction, to make it quick. Acclaimed saxophonist, composer, arranger, producer, spanning jazz, pop, and fusion, multi-Grammy Award winner, who appeared on countless hit records. One of my favorites, Steely Dan's Asia. You can also check him on Hang Time with Tom Scott on K-Jazz Tuesdays at 9. Is that still a thing? Yes, I got it right. Please, everybody give a warm welcome to the great Tom Scott and friends.
Thank you very much. I have to sit because 16 days ago I got a new knee, so I'm just not quite back to normal. If you'll indulge me, I think the music won't matter. It'll be the same either way. So we're going to start out with a Chick Corea composition called Spain. like to take a moment to, well, first let me tell you, there are some of you who might not know what the hell we're playing with these instruments. What the hell are they? This, right here, is the Roland Aerophone. It's an amazing instrument. Of course, I've been playing wind synthesizers of various kinds since 1974. The Lyricon, then there was the Iwi, the Iwi, the Akai Iwi, there was the Yamaha WX7. This is the latest incarnation. And believe it or not, in this thing, there's 600 sounds. Go figure. How the heck did they do it? I don't know. But anyway, it's pretty cool. And these are the latest by Roland in the wind synth department. It's called a Brisa. And looks like a flute, but it's far more than that. And let me introduce all these people up here on stage. First of all, on the Brisa, Lauren Kyoto. Also on the Brisa, Mr. Mike Phillips. On keyboards, Mr. Scott Tibbs. On the bass, my dear friend and guy I play with all the time, Mr. Chris Colangelo. And on drums, the lovely and talented Dan Schnell. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a tune, one of my favorite classical compositions of all time. Well, we got to do the string. We're doing the string thing, right? Yeah. Okay. We have to make an instrument change here. 1 second. Why I said instrument change, I don't mean picking up another instrument. I mean dialing another instrument.
So much easier than costume changes.
No kidding, man. Much easier than costume changes.
No C, just run it all down. Just like the truck. We're not omitting C.
Say what? No. We'll play everything.
Run it down.
So this is a tune by Gabriel Fauré. Bill Evans did a beautiful recording of it on this Bill Evans with Symphony Orchestra, and it's called Pavane. That's what I say. Anyway, here is, it's a little on the nose, given it's my album. It's called Tomcat.
Chris Martin. My friend Craig Thatcher, we traveled the world telling the Martin story. My friend forever Larry Fishman, and somewhere is Lloyd Baggs. Lloyd will be joining us in a minute. So I wanted to talk about acoustic electric guitars. For the first 125 years of my family's business, all we made were acoustic guitars. The impetus to make guitars louder, in my estimation, and you've heard me tell this story often, was the Hawaiian music craze. That in the 20s, Hawaiian music became pop music. And as the music became more popular, the audience became larger. And how do you play to the back of the room if you didn't have microphones and guitar pickups? Bigger, louder guitars. And so that's actually why we developed the Dreadnought guitar. The Dreadnought guitar was invented and developed to be a loud Hawaiian-style guitar. The Resophonic guitar came out of the Hawaiian music craze. The early solid body electric lap steel guitars came out of Hawaiian music. And then they got incorporated into country and rock and on and on and on. You've maybe read the book, what's that, Play It Loud, right? So I wanted to talk about where we started our journey with trying to make acoustic electric guitars. And honestly, in my estimation, I was 4 years old, so I was not involved in this endeavor. It was a nice attempt. What we were missing was we put electric guitar pickups on an acoustic guitar with acoustic guitar strings. And electric guitar pickups and acoustic guitar strings, they don't dance well together. But we tried it. And you and I, Craig, we had the honor and the pleasure last fall of giving a presentation at the Royal College of Music in London, because they had a special exhibit where they had the original, one of these, and my attorneys have said, Chris, we don't have a formal relationship with that artist, so be cautious in how you attribute this guitar to that particular artist. But for those of you that know, you may know what I'm talking about, because not only at the exhibit did they have the original version of this particular Martin D18 with the D-Armond pickups and the added-on Bartolini pickup, they had the sweater. So if you know where I'm going, you know where I'm going. My attorney said, don't mention Kurt Cobain's name. Oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. So Craig, can you demonstrate the first Martin electric guitar?
Lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine. I would shiver the whole night through. My girl, where will you go? I'm going where the cold wind blows. In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine. I would shiver the whole night through.
What song was that? Who wrote that?
That goes way back to Blind Lemon Chitlin. It was a very old Blind Lemon Jefferson.
How many days you been at the show?
Yeah.
It requires a fruit and a handicap of some sort, eyesight, and a president. And that's it.
There you go. Those three things. I got to just remember those three things.
But the difference today is we have our new Kovar strings, which work well acoustically, but they're filled with cobalt. And you need something like cobalt to excite the magnetic field in a magnetic electric guitar pickup. So, more to come on this particular model, hopefully. Thank you, Craig. So let's fast forward now. I'm sort of joining the family business. My parents are divorced, but I'm kind of curious. And I cannot tell you the origins of this, but we attribute Martin as being the first acoustic company to embrace a piezo pickup, stuck on the top, and we partnered with a hippie electronic engineer out of San Francisco called Arnie Lazarus, and we came up with the FRAP, the Flat Response Audio Pickup, and it worked. It was one of the stick-on ones before anybody thought about putting the pickup under the saddle. And the unfortunate thing was that Arnie and his wife handmade not only the pickups, but the outboard preamp, and we put them on D18s. The real unfortunate thing was the preamp and the pickup cost as much as the D18. So they didn't sell very well. But I was telling someone this story earlier, thinking back to my youth, because I was almost a hippie. It was so close. I remember coming home from high school once and saying, "Mom, a bunch of my senior classmates, I'm like 8th grade, 7th grade, a bunch of them are going to Washington to protest the Vietnam War. I want to go with them." And she looks at me, she goes, "No, you're only 12 years old. You're not going to." And a quick political announcement, I am so happy today that musicians are re-engaging in telling the message about our precious democracy that we are going to celebrate this summer, 250 years of this great experiment of ours, right? So we're working with Arnie, and he's upset that we're not selling enough. My dad's upset that they're too expensive. And not only, so Arnie Lazarus, hippie electronic engineer from San Francisco, and my dad says to me, he said, "Did you ever smoke pot?" And I'm like, am I supposed to tell him the truth or not? And he goes, "We're going to give you the job of negotiating with the pot-smoking electronic engineer from San Francisco." So that was one of my first real jobs at Martin, was to be the go-between between my dad from the Beat generation and the hippies. So let's fast forward now at least 10 more years, when now we end up, and I cannot tell you how or why, we end up partnering with a company called Barkus Berry. And it was two gentlemen, older gentlemen, electronic engineers, and they helped us develop the first under-the-saddle pickup. But it was big and wide, and we had to have this big Aki saddle underneath. And I forget the other gentleman's first name, they ended up selling the company, and all of a sudden, we're cut off. But we knew we were onto something. And my colleague says to my dad and me, "There's this guy in Boston that I've heard about, and I think he makes pickups. Can I give him a call?" And my dad said, "Please, we're kind of desperate. John called you, and..."
Hello? Yeah, I get a call from John Marshall at Martin Guitar, and he somehow found me. I was in my basement making double bass pickups and violin pickups. And I was a jazz musician playing bass in all the jazz clubs in Boston. And a lot of the pianos were disappearing, and the Fender Rhodes were coming in, and it was getting louder. And we're a traditional, Miles Davis type quartet. And the guys are saying, "Gee, the piano's loud, we can't hear you, you're gonna have to play Fender." And I said, "Nah, I play double bass. Fenders belong on cars, so leave me alone, all right?" Because I needed to amplify my bass, I started working on a bass picker. I also had an engineering background, and I built motorcycle and car engines. I happen to have a little machine shop in my basement, probably the only bass player in Boston that had that. So I went to work on a pickup, and I tried some magnetics and this and that. I ended up getting some piezo materials from some guy that was selling surplus electronic stuff, and he said, "Here, try this." And I spent about a year making a bass pickup, and I perfected it in the club that I worked in every Sunday. I painted my feet on the floor so I would always be standing in the same place. And it was a great laboratory, and I ended up making what became the industry standard double bass pickup at that time. I figured that was it. And I had two guys in the basement working with me. There was a great blues drummer who needed a gig, and a guitar player that you may have heard of, Reeves Gabrels, who went on to play with David Bowie, and he's now with The Cure. And we were making pickups. And then I figured that was it. I got a call from John Marshall, and he said, yada yada, we had this Barker's Berry thing. It was kind of working. People didn't know how to install it. It had some quality issues. They would break, this and that. We're looking for something, though. We think there's a market here. Can you do anything? And I said, I'll give it a shot. And about a month later, I called John. I said, I have something I like. Went down to Martin, had one of them. John's looking at it. The wire was a little coiled up on it. He pulls on the wire and it goes pop. It's not working. I said, give me a workbench and some razor blades and a soldering iron. He comes out with a 50-watt iron that was good for soldering fence posts. I tried to fix it, it didn't work. I went back home to Boston, came down a few days later with two of them. And I don't know who decided what. I think they had some other people submitting designs. They called me, they said, yeah, we like this. We're going to take it to a trade show. And Chris, I'm bad with dates. It was either the summer Atlanta show or the New Orleans show, one or the other, okay? And that was, well, it was 38 years ago, right? And I know because my son was conceived at that show, and he's now 38. Aside from that, I can't remember dates. So I guess, you know, at the show, people liked it, and I get a call from John again. He said, can you come down and talk to us? I go down to Martin, and they bring me in this conference room, and there is this mahogany conference table. It looked like it belonged on the Queen Mary or something. I mean, it was big, and there's 10 guys, executives and managers sitting there, and I'm on the end. And Hugh Bloom, the president, says, well, I think we got something here now. We got to talk about prices. And we talked about prices. And he said, all right.
And he's a tough negotiator.
He said, all right, we came to agreement. He said, we'll give it a shot. And he said, I'm going to need 10,000 the first year. Sure, no problem. I go home, tell my wife, she said, we're in the basement, not in my house. The very next day she went out and rented 5,000 square feet of empty industrial space, brought me over. She had already signed a lease agreement, brought me over. It was empty. It looked like Yankee Stadium to me at that time. It scared the hell out of me. We bought a bunch of used workbenches, and I hired all my musicians' friends that needed day gigs. And we started developing the thin line second generation 332, and continued on that course for several years. And people said they wanted some volume and tone controls. We had some off-board preamps. Then they wanted the electronics on the guitar, so we developed that. And it just kept morphing into more different varieties of pickups. The 332 was the big one, but over the years we developed a lot of systems for Martin, blending mics inside the guitar with the pickup. Entered the digital age about 20 years ago. We developed an imaging system called Aura, which helped transform the pickup sound into something more akin to a studio microphone sound, and you could blend that on stage. And had a really great ride here. Met a lot of interesting people at Martin. Learned a lot about guitars. I was not a guitar builder. I did build electric guitars for about 10 years with a gentleman named Ken Parker.
Rest in peace, Ken.
Rest in peace. But I didn't know much about acoustic guitars until I met Chris and worked in his organization with the people that were developing stuff. And here we are. And actually, Lloyd Baggs, a good friend of mine who is in the same business that I am in, pickups, and well, he's making guitars too now, so is going to be joining us here. And Lloyd is on that same pursuit of amplifying acoustic instruments, guitars, violins, things of that nature, and trying to bring it to the next level, whatever that is. And
So maybe we should have Craig play something. While you're getting ready, Larry,
yes,
what was that thing that people would talk about that we all knew we had to resolve called the quack? What was that?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Bob Taylor. He invented that thing.
but there was something about impedance, and there was just...
Well, it's a lot of things. Okay, piezo under the saddle pickup is the most stable pickup as far as feedback is concerned, and it is probably the most friendly pickup to install in a production scenario, where you don't have to find the exact position and you don't have to glue it inside the bridge plate, where if you get it in the wrong place, you're screwed. You know, you got to chisel it out and stuff. So under saddle pickups are people complain about them a lot because they don't really understand them and they don't learn to play to the attributes of the pickup. You have to have a different touch and so forth. They're very quick, they're very immediate and extremely revealing. So if you're a sloppy guitar player, you hate them, okay? Because everything comes out in full Technicolor. The quack is due to a couple of things. A lot of amplification systems, they have a very quick attack and a lot of dynamic range. And a lot of amplification systems can't handle the dynamic range, so there's a semi-quacky distortion thing if you hit them too hard and so forth. But I've heard people play just straight piezo pickups played properly, and you'll cry at how good they sound. Yeah. And I've heard other people playing my pickups that I can't get away fast enough.
All right, Craig, what do you have here? What are you playing?
Well, I have a real Blind Lemon Jefferson song. That first one was Lead Belly. Was it? This happens to be a John Mayer OMJM. And the pickup that is used in here is the Gold Plus Extra. What's the extra part on the Gold Plus?
Something Mark
More cost.
wanted. I don't know what it is.
Just more cost.
More cost. Gold Plus is our second iteration of under saddle pickups. The original ones had little piezo ceramic discs. And the problem with those is they had to be, and they were very small because of the 3/3, the thin saddle. They had to be located directly under each string. So there was, if you didn't drill the location hole properly where the wire goes through, you can get misaligned and have balance issues. And the piezo ceramics have a faster attack than some people want. Some people love them. So we developed a pickup that used a single strip of piezo polymer, which is a piezoelectric man-made material.
All right, so didn't you tell me that came from the government using that material for seismic testing?
Actually, seismic testing, and you use it for towed array hydrophones behind submarines and stuff like that. It has the same, piezo material has about the same speed of sound as water. So it was a great match for...
So the next time someone talks about cutting government funding for science, give them a hard time. All right, Greg.
Larry, I've always liked the Gold Plus. Just a basic, really great go-to pickup. ask you. Yeah, I got one last favor I'm gonna ask of you. Won't you please see that my grave is clean?
little less reverb, please. much. It's a tune of mine called Cobalt Blue. Before that, from Wings, Maybe I'm Amazed. And I opened up with another tune of mine, Catch. Okay. Well, why not? It's Pete Townsend composition. Won't get fooled again. We wish. 18, ONC 18, with a moon spruce top, high alpine Swiss spruce cut on the waning moon. And let's see, it's strung with my signature retro Martin Monell strings. Pickup actually is a Duncan. You had Fishman and Baggs on the stage, but the other one of the triad is Seymour Duncan. This is a Duncan wavelength with an Audix mic that's actually situated right around there. And this combination just seems to work for me. So. Strawberry Fields Forever. For those of you that are in the LA area, I've got a few local gigs coming out. Let's see, I've got the Fret House in Covina. I've got Boulevard Music in Culver City. Also, March 28th, I'm going to be playing with my friend Richard T-Bear at the Mint in West LA. And for that gig, I play electric guitar, and Tony Bronigal is on drums. It's a killer band. That's not to be missed. And then my daughter Nico has a musical that's going to be running in Burbank, starting in May 2nd. It's called Millennials Are Killing Musicals. Ran off Broadway a couple of years ago, and she's got a new production going up here. Hashtag Proud Dad. Okay.
Thank you, Anaheim Studio. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Martin Guitars. Thanks for all.